You are watching the DeadfootDiver podcast with Kurt, the DeadfootDiver.
Welcome to the DeadfootDiver podcast, where we talk about everything diving, technical diving, and especially the benefits of diving with disabilities. So I'm very pleased to have on with me today a Guinness World Record holder, in fact, a 3-time Guinness World Record holder. And not only that, what makes it even more impressive is the fact that he's an adaptive diver who holds 3 Guinness World Records. Dan Metcalf, how's it going, Dan?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. Yeah, I'm all good.
Oh, awesome to have you here. So I heard about you from Robert Thomas, who trained you how to scuba dive.
Yes, Rob helped out massively with the with side mount diving. Him, his dad, Michael Thomas, and also Rick Stanton. So if you can't learn to side mount scuba dive by all 3 of them, you're not going to learn, are
you? Yeah, I could definitely see that. So that's awesome. So tell me, first of all, how you became a paraplegic, and because you actually had 2 accidents involving yourself, which is even crazier. So tell me how you first became a paraplegic, and then what made you decide to get into scuba diving.
Yeah, so big story, really. I mean, it's a long one, but it started. I was a builder 10 years, just the average workaholic. You know, I did sports as well, a bit of kickboxing, racing my motorbike, all that sort of stuff. And then the 22nd of June 2014, I had a motorbike crash where my mate ran me over. Well, if he ran me over, I'd have been all right. Yeah, he crashed into me, so I fell off. Came off the bike, simple low slide, just hit gravel, slid off the bike. Already had my knee on the floor anyway, so it's not far to fall. Span around in the road, and he just crashed into me. So, yeah, shit happens, you know, this life. So yeah, just crashed into me, and he grabbed a fistful of front brake and clutch, so the bike did a stoppie in my back, and he cartwheeled off the top, and then the bike landed on my chest. That blew T10 apart in my back. So the vertebrae T10, obviously you know where that is, about a level with your belly button just below. That got blown apart, so I don't have T10 anymore. I've got a load of titanium in there instead of it. But in paralysing me, that was job done. It wasn't really that much of an issue. I spent 3.5 months in hospital getting over that. I got a good helicopter ride, first time in a helicopter. So I got a good helicopter ride to the hospital.
I'm not sure that I don't know if that's good or not. I mean, it's definitely interesting, but I mean, the reason I went like that is because I too was injured motocrossing.
Right.
So I can just imagine the crash the way you were describing it.
Yeah,
would not be good.
The big heavy super bikes, CBR 600 race bikes. When they hit you, they hurt. But I had all my track leathers on. So over here we have to have helmets on. You have to have leathers on. You need to have the protective clothing on. So I even had a Nox or MotoGP Nox back protector on, and it split the stitching in that. So that's gone through.
Wow.
A crash air bubble on my back. I had an inflation helmet on as well, and then the Nox back protector, and it's still ripped through that. So I didn't have any blood on my body or any open wounds anywhere, but I was paralysed and had 6 broken ribs, and that was basically it. I spent 3.5 months in hospital getting used to life in a wheelchair. The nurse came into me, they rushed me into an operation because I had a hematoma. So I was bleeding internally, not externally, but internally. And that caused me to be paralysed at T8. So I'm a little bit higher than that, not higher than my break. But the nurse comes up to me and she says, I'm sorry to tell you, you're probably not going to be able to walk again. You're paralysed. I know that. I do that when I was laid on the side of the road. My legs aren't moving. So yeah, it is what it is, with that. And I'm a big believer in that you can sit in the corner of the room and cry about it for a limited amount of time. You can't stay there. At some point, the little person inside's got to talk to yourself, and you've got to go, I've got to deal with this. So I dealt with it through sports, through fitness, and I got really involved in fitness. They told me that once I could push the wheelchair up the hill and get out of the hospital, I was allowed to go home. So that's the first thing that I did. Went in the gym and trained and got up the hill. So that was great. But when I went into the sports, I went into hand cycling, I went into archery, I went into shooting, I went into everything, literally everything you
Wow.
could do. I got picked by my spinal unit. They have these like mini Olympics sort of thing, where all the spinal units in the country come together to compete against each other, and so they take their best they can. So I did archery there, I did shooting there, I did my hand cycle racing there, I did golf and broke the club. And then I did fencing as well. So we did wheelchair fencing, that's really cool.
That would be cool, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they did wheelchair fencing.
Yeah, they also do wheelchair boxing, but I'm not allowed to do that.
So why are you not allowed to do wheelchair boxing?
Because I've got no abs. So because of the no abs, it's kind of like, it's not them saying I'm not allowed to do it. It's more me saying I'm not allowed to do it because I'll end up either in trouble or hitting somebody, because I've got a wicked hook, so I can hook really well, but I've got no abs. So if I've got no forward power, like pressing forwards, it's rubbish, and I can't get out of the way because I can't like lean backwards. So I just take an absolute pounding. But yeah, so all the sports I did, like I say, shooting. I got called back to go to GB for shooting, to be tested to see whether I was good enough to go to the Olympics for shooting. I won gold in archery. I won the fencing. Be a 6'4" lad. I'm only 5'9". And that was hilarious.
Wow.
But when you both sat down in a wheelchair, you're 4 foot nothing, aren't you? So it was good. Obviously, I took my hand cycle because I went into hand cycle racing.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And by the way, we're also on your favorite podcast platforms now. We are on Amazon. We are on Spotify. We are on iHeartRadio. We are on Player FM and Podchaser. All of the descriptions are going to be down below, so make sure you check us out. Thanks. Have a great day. And remember, grab an adventure and live.
And then I got a bit of a sort of predicament. I was told, we want you to do shooting for GB, to do indoor shooting, which is target range shooting, and it's got to be very, very accurate, very good, to go for the Olympics. So two of us got picked for that. We were doing that, or my choice was to go hand cycle. And I was used to racing on track with the motorbike, all that sort of stuff. Hand cycling is aggressive sport. It's really, full on. Tires are rubbing. You're banging into the back of each other. It's fantastic. Loved it. And I thought, do you know what? Nah, I can take hand cycling all the way. So I took hand cycling, and I was training. I spent 4 years training hand cycling. I got picked by, 5 of us got picked by Team GB. To go to Rio, or to train to go to Rio, and I was on the group for training for that. One of us would be picked out of it, and I was doing a 600-mile charity bike ride in the month of June, 4 years later after my first crash, 22nd of June, or 28th of June, sorry, and I got hit by a car. So hand cycles, wow. You lay down on your back, you crunch it along with your arms, and the charity bike ride was 600 miles through the month of June, and I had 14 miles left, and I was chugging away, going up a hill, 12% incline hill, so really slow chugging away, and he come around the corner, there was a lorry coming down the hill at the same time. I just heard this screeching and, big bang. And the big bang was him actually skidding straight on the corner, hit the lorry. So he hit the side of what you guys have got an Arctic, He actually removed the rear wheel off of an Arctic with his car, bounced off
Wow.
the lorry, and still hit me. So I'm
Oh,
not very lucky in June.
man, I thought I had bad luck because I've broken both hips and stuff with motocross and stuff, right? I thought I've had bad luck with injuries. Okay, you got me beat, man.
Yeah. But, so one of the
You got a
funniest
better
things.
story to tell than I do.
Oh yeah, everyone's got a story though, mate. One of the funniest things was that obviously he hit me. That was bad. It was bad because when you lay down in a hand cycle, you're strapped in, so you've got
Yeah,
nowhere
yeah.
to go. You're locked in. You're locked in with your chest and stomach. You're pressed into it, and my head was underneath his bonnet. So he'd hit me that hard. He'd gone on top of my helmet, cracked my helmet, broke my wheels in two, and bent the bike to pieces, obviously. And we were being pushed like 18 meters underneath the front of his car, and I'm just like, don't steer, just go straight. I'm in the grass, I'm bouncing all over the place. And before we come to a stop, and all I can hear is screaming, and I'm thinking, well, if I can hear screaming, that means they're not dead, so they're all right. Another lorry driver comes running down the road. He managed to stop his lorry, come running down the road. Oh, you're all right, you're all right. No, just get them out of the car. I'm all right. Just sort them out. So he did. He ended up ripping them out of the car, ripped the doors open and stuff. I can send you some pictures. They're pretty nasty pictures, but
Yeah. Actually, I'd be interested in seeing them if you got them. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'll send him over. And he managed to rip the door open, get them out of the car. Which the guy wasn't overly happy about. But yeah, anyway, he got him out of the car and he comes back to me and he goes, he's like all panicky sort of thing. He's like, are you all right? You all right? So well, I think I'm all right. I don't think I'm that hurt. And he said, but do you want to get up from that? Because I didn't think about what he saw. So all he saw was a car hitting a push bike, pushing a push bike underneath it, and somebody laying in this mangled mess of metal. He doesn't know what a hand cycle is. So he's thinking I'm crushed underneath this with this bike in pieces. And I'm actually just laid in it. And he's like, do you want to get up out of that, mate? I said, I can't get up. I'm paralyzed. He absolutely shit himself. he full on panicked. He was bouncing around. Oh, I need to ring the ambulance. Get the ambulance on the phone now. What can I do? And I was like, just chill out, man. Calm down. And
no, the paralyzing was before.
Yeah, he calmed down a little bit. And I went, look, I was paralyzed before he hit me. It was fantastic. I mean, I don't know whether I can swear too much on here. We're all right to.
Oh yeah, you're good, man.
He goes, you bastard! I've just had a heart attack. It was so funny just to see this guy's face, and he really panicked, and then I had a bit of a laugh.
Laughing about the situation.
Yeah, I've always taken that sort of, it can be serious. You could fall apart from things. Bad things happen. You've been there. Bad things happen. It's life. You either deal with it or it'll deal with you. And the ambulance crew, the police, all that lot, they all turned up. You must go to hospital. I'm not going to hospital. I'm going home. So I went home. Probably should have gone to hospital. The next day, I get up and in my head, I've got to finish the ride. I've got to finish this charity bike ride. It's a challenge, 600 miles. It was for Blesma, the Armed Forces charity, and it is like I've got to complete it. So I took my broken, smashed to pieces bike. I put it on the rollers, which is a set of sports trainers on the rollers, in the lounge in front of the TV, and I finished the 14 miles.
Wow.
Not unbeknown to me, I had a C4 compression in my neck, so I compressed C4 badly. I had severe concussion, which I didn't really acknowledge at the time. But my daughter was in the house, thankfully, because she woke me up 3 times whilst I was doing this 14 miles, finishing this stupid ride that I had to do in my head. I had to finish it. So she woke me up. I passed out 3 times, and she just thought I'd gone to sleep. But she woke me up 3 times. 3 days later, I decide this headache is too bad. I'm getting dizzy. I'm like near falling out of my chair all the time. I can't get up. I'm tired. I've got to go to hospital. I'm not. There's something seriously not right with me. Go to hospital. Get told off. Obviously, why are you turning up 3 days later? Yeah. So they
It's
finally
funny
scanned.
how doctors tend to lose their sense of humor over stuff like
Yeah,
that, right?
I
Like,
don't know why.
I don't get it.
So they scan me, they do all that, and they say, "Oh well, actually, you've got severe compression of C4 in your neck. Have you got any bad tingling or pain anywhere?" I was like, "Well, I'm paralyzed. I'm tingling in my legs all the time." Um, so she says, "What about your hands? Have you got any problems in your hands?" I was like, "Well, I think they're okay." Didn't really acknowledge the fact that I couldn't feel my left hand at all much. So um, yeah, so months and months on down the line from that, things started getting bad. I actually got to the dark side of having head injury, and as you say, months. It was probably less than a month to be fair. But I tried to deal with it, couldn't deal with it, and this injury had changed from being a physical injury like my first one, which was just, yeah, you're paralyzed. It's a mechanical thing, get over it, deal with it, get in a wheelchair, and do life in a chair. That's fine. But this one was mental. It was every night not being able to sleep, every night reliving that really loud like skidding noise, and then a huge bang, which was both of the crashes were the same skidding noise, the same bang as I get hit. Um, and it created into PTSD, which most people go, PTSD, oh yeah, that's just people in the army get PTSD. No, it's
Nope.
not at all. It's it can happen to anybody for any different reason, as long as the brain is putting together these two things or multiple things, however many it is, as long as it's recurring issue, you can have PTSD. You don't have to be in the army for it. Um, and I wouldn't deal with it. I was in this mode of like I turned into an arse, complete and utter arse. That I'm not dealing with this. Sod it and screw life. I'm going to kill myself. So I attempted. The best thing out of therapy that I've been through is the fact that I can talk about that. I talk about the stupid moments that you just go, I've got a daughter. I didn't have a partner at the time, but I've got my daughter, and I've got a good family around me. But that wasn't enough. That was not enough to stop me being really stupid. I looked at different ways, being in my car and just ending things. Um, and after an attempt that I realised myself was a stupid thing to be doing, I got help. And I went to see, I acknowledged the fact, oh, there's something wrong with me. I've got to do something about it. So I did. I went to speak to some people. I got a therapist, and we started talking through things. I didn't work with a lot of it because I'm not that way inclined, but it did enable me to talk about things. And the next thing that happened, I was they say I was self-harming because I was punching my legs because my legs were like spasming more than they ever did before, using like hammer on my legs and stuff like that, and because they were doing my head in, so it was either I eat them and then it stops them from jumping, so I eat them harder, then they jump more because you're damaging the nerves. So it's one of them things. So a couple of my friends that I just started scuba diving just before my second crash. I'd only been in the pool, and they said, you need to go diving. And they knew me really well. They'd seen how I was changing, and they knew things were going off in the background. And they took me diving. And we went to this place called Stony Cove in the UK, which is a quarry, inland quarry. It's actually where we set the world records. And we went there, and just they took me diving. They just said, "You go diving." We went diving, and I came out the first day of diving. I got 2 dives in. It was lovely. Like it was too hot to be in a dry suit, but I was in a dry suit, and I just got underwater, and everything disappears. The noise of life just disappears. All you can focus
You
on.
actually dove in a dry suit your first time?
Yeah. That's what we do in the
Wow.
UK. We dive straight. We go from the pool straight into open water in a dry
Oh,
suit.
really?
Yeah.
I guess I guess I'll find out because my stepdaughter's actually moving to the UK.
Oh, amazing.
So I will at some point, probably she's gonna be moving there in the next month or two. So within yeah, so I will eventually get to hopefully come over and go diving with you guys in England.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we'll get you in. It'd be great.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'd be good. But you dry suit, yeah, of course you dry suit, you side mount, so yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need one over here. It's not the
So
coldest place in the world, but it ain't yeah. It's not tropical.
yeah, it's the water here. Okay, how cold's the water? Because here, like the water is like 30. Well, it was about plus 2 degrees Celsius a
Yeah,
few
okay.
weeks ago. It's coming up to about 6 or 7, but
Yeah, yeah. So Stony Cove at the moment, surface temperature is, I think it's 8 at the moment, 8 degrees Celsius.
ugh,
But at the
yeah,
bottom of Stony, it doesn't change. So 35 meters in Stony, it's 6 degrees all year round.
yeah,
As I say, it's a granite quarry, so the granite just holds, and yeah, the temperature just stays cold all year. All year. But surface, like middle of say October, is the warmest you can be in the quarry, and it's like 14 degrees on the surface. Everyone's in wetsuits then, but yeah, dry suits for me all the way. Then you can go and spend an hour down at 20 meters and
oh
not have
yeah,
any problems at all. So yeah. So but basically, going diving sort of straightened my head out a little bit. And then so we did it again, and we did it again and again, and I found every time I went diving, this anger and this build and this just pressure of life, which I call the noise of life, just disappeared every time I did it, and every time I went, it disappeared for a bit longer, as well as doing
yeah,
therapy and stuff as well. Obviously everything helps, but yeah, it really did. Fit, diving saved my life at the end of the day. It puts me in a place that is I'm equal to everybody else. I go in the water,
yeah,
and it doesn't matter that I had a wheelchair on the surface. But everybody says, "Oh yeah, I bet it's amazing to just be, to be free and to be, not have to push a wheelchair around." I'm like, actually, a wheelchair is just a tool for me. It doesn't really bother me.
yeah,
It's more the seated position. It's more the, everybody is, like 8 foot tall when you're in a wheelchair. And everyone you're seen as you're not equal to other people. Maybe that's just how I feel, but you're seen as,
nope,
oh, do you want me to do that for you? Do you want me to do this for you? Or can you get through there? No, because there's bloody steps. All that sort of stuff happens. But then you go underwater, and now, obviously, now being an instructor and all the stuff that I do now, it's actually I'm more qualified and more able-bodied underwater than most of the people I'm taking in. And all of a sudden,
yeah.
it's like I am now, super able. It's brilliant.
I know it's awesome that way, isn't it? I mean, I'm the same way because I mean, I'm not paralyzed, but I have no feeling below my left knee
Right.
from a motocross accident. My
Excellent.
right leg is very heavily and pinned up from another motocross accident,
Good.
and I'm blind in my left eye to boot.
Ooh.
So
So when I want to come pick on you when you come over to the UK, I've just got to sneak up on your left side and pull your left leg.
yeah, I'll remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like 90% blind in my left eye.
Right. Okay.
So pretty much so, but yeah, it's diving again because I used to be a professional diver back in the 90s. I
Oh,
was
did
an
you? Okay.
instructor and commercial diver, and I also did some work for Mel Fisher diving for treasure down
Oh,
in the
nice.
Keys. And then I stopped for like 25 years. And it was actually, I was on a trip to Cozumel in November of 2023. And I booked a snorkeling trip like the day after we got to Cozumel. And I went and misplaced my eye drops. So I bought some Mexican eye drops and I had an allergic reaction to them. And I
No.
actually blew up. I blew up like I was in a bar fight. Like I literally, actually, guys, I'll try and find the picture and I'll post it up here on this on the episode on my screen. You'll see it because it was really bad. Actually, we seen it last night again. It popped up on a feed, and yeah, so I ended up postponing my snorkeling trip until the Thursday, like 2 days before I left. And we got on this boat, and they actually brought a lady who had to have a walker to get on.
Yep.
And sat her right down beside me.
That's fair play.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So the next day, I actually put a tank on because of that. I would probably never have done that again had it have not been for her. And seeing her react to it and stuff like that. And it's like, well, I can still dive. There's no reason I can't dive. I just gave it up when and I did not realize how much of an impact it would have on me starting diving again, like instantly. Like as same as you, as soon as I took my first breath again, it was like, boom, I got on where the guy's like, okay, we'll do some like partial mask. Cause I had partial mask there. I was doing full mask and all this stuff right here. Yeah, we get done and the guy's like, you haven't dove in how long? I'm like, yeah, 25, 26 years. And he's like, do you want to go diving this afternoon? I'll sign you out, right? And I couldn't because my flight was leaving the next day.
No.
It's like, So I actually ended up not diving. I came back and did a refresher and stuff in the winter, and then I started diving again in April last year.
Nice.
So, but yeah, so tell me, how did you get into and first of all, I give you credit for doing all this crazy stuff you do. Mind you, most of the paraplegics that I know from, especially because I raced adaptive motocross for a couple of years, I did that.
Yep.
So I know like Doug Henry and most of the X Games guys that you see for the adaptive motocross and snowcross, and they're absolutely freaking insane. Yeah. I mean, you guys are way more insane than anybody. I think it's because it's the fact of like, okay, well, I'm paralyzed now, so
what else can happen?
So what else is going to happen? Because I mean, these guys, they're same thing. They're strapped to a bike, right? And in their case, it's like a 300-pound dirt bike flying through the air. And I mean, I tell you, I can remember the first time I went to an adaptive motocross race, and one of my friends who was a paraplegic actually crashed, and he gave me his helmet camera footage after. And we were busy, so I didn't look at the footage. I just copied it, right? And we're driving home, and my son's like, oh, give me your laptop. Well, I want to see all the photos from the weekend, right? So he's going through them, and he gets to the video of the guy crashing on the thing, which he had actually seen.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? And he's like, this video, like his crash video. It's like, oh, I'll never forget it. Like,
it just happens.
So tell me first of all, which world records do you hold? And also what made you decide that you wanted to break a Guinness World Record for it?
So I've got, well, yeah, it's a classic thing, isn't it? We dive, or I dive with webs with my hands. So obviously, you know, I still wear fins because that aqua hydroplanes your legs, so it lifts the legs up. But with webs, obviously, everybody looks at you and thinks, well, you're going to be slow. You've got webs. You've got not even half of the surface area that they have with legs to fin. So yeah, it came to one day, and I was talking to another diver, and she said to me about doing a lap of Stony Cove, and I was like, a lap of Stony? Stony's not small; it's like nearly a mile all the way around, and I said to her, a lap at 20 meters. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to get that. I will run out of gas. There's no way. That's impossible. She went, no. You do it between 6 and 8 meters. You see all the pike, you see all the fish, everything, all the life is at that sort of depth. But it's quite a challenging dive because obviously you're diving alongside the walls all the way around. There's only 3 places where you actually are level with the shelf, which is the training shelf that everybody trains on. And then other than that, you're above a 35-meter drop hole and 20-meter drop holes. So you know it's a very mid-water dive. but you just got the wall on your right hand side the entire time. But you see all the life because there's like reefs and grasses and underwater trees and stuff like that all on the side. So you see all the you see all the pike and stuff and tench. I was like, okay, well, I'll try that. And yeah, me stupid Ed again as usual, because she says to me, it's a real challenge. It's a long way round, and you've got to be good on gas. But you swimming with your hands, you're going to use more gas, and I don't know, it'd be one hell of a challenge for you to get all the way around. So yeah, stupid idiot brain goes on, and I go, right, okay, now let's make it a real challenge. So what I want to do is I want to set the fastest 5 kilometers, which would have been 5 laps or just over 5 laps of Stone. Yeah, no, 5 laps of Stony. And then I contacted Guinness and was like, well, I wonder what the record is for the fastest 5 kilometers scuba dived. There isn't one. It doesn't exist because 5 kilometers isn't something that they do a measurement of. And they said, no, you can't do 5K. You can do 10K. And I'm like, 10K? That's not happening. That's definitely not happening. So we had a bit of a work around it, and I said to him, look, I said, I can do the 5 kilometers. I know I can do that, but it's going to take me like 7 hours worth of dive. And what they came back with after loads of toing and throwing, a year's worth of training and all this sort of stuff, they came back with, okay, you can't have one record because we don't do 5K. You can have 3. So these are the options that we'll go with. You can go for a fast dive if you want to. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fast dive, yeah. I'll prove the fact that I am fast underwater because I was getting pretty quick. And then you can also go for a distance record if you want to. I'm like, right, okay, yeah, all right, let's do it. So we ended up going for the fastest 1 mile scuba dive by able-bodied. This is in fresh open water, so it's not in the sea. You're not using any currents, not using tidal. It's just you and in a sterile location, really, because it's a quarry. There's no flow anywhere. So the fastest 1 mile scuba dived for able-bodied, as long as you have your legs tied together and you swim with your hands. Then the fastest mile as paralyzed, MP2, which obviously, that goes hand in hand. That's what I am. And then the other one was the longest distance scuba dived in fresh open water, which I was like, okay, right. So I'm going to do all these in the same day. So this is all going to be one dive. So I've got to go as fast as I physically can for the first mile, and then I can take my time after that. Yeah, okay, right. Well, let's go for it then. So they said, how far do you want to go? And I said, well, my original was 5K, 5.5 laps. So the cheeky bugger set the record at 5K. So because the record doesn't exist, they preset a record. So they set it at 5K. I was like, that means I've got to go more. So I have to go further than the 5K I originally wanted to do. So I was like, right, okay, fine. So we that's what we did. We trained really hard, and I was training for the mile, which was going ballistic. It was going really good, really quick, and my training was like progressing so quickly that I was blowing buddies out of the water left, right, and centre, especially after we got a good chat with obviously Rob, Robert, and his dad Michael, and then I met Rick as well, because they were all saying, I was talking to all the people I could talk to, and they were saying that I was trying to do the attempt, or I was training for the attempt in a Scuba Pro X Black BCD with twin cylinders on my back, and they're going, one, you're going to run out of gas really quick, because you're twin 7s on your back. So you're going to have to be on like twin 15s, and then we're going to have to change them halfway through the dive. And if not, multiple times. So the BCD on my back, the fact we needed to change the gas, the sheer drag effect of a BCD and cylinders on your back and all in a dry suit and all this stuff, it's just ridiculous. So they said, you need to be in side mount. There is no better way than being inside mount for this type of challenge. You can throw cylinders off and put another one on as quick as you need to, and you can, the footprint in the water, the displacement that you're creating is minimal because you have no wraparound BC. You've already broken the water with your hands where the cylinders are, so you've taken that pressure away. And we said, okay, let's do it. So that's what happened. We went down to Stony Cove. Those guys came up to do the training with me. They brought me a side mount, Namotech side mount rig with them, and also an X Black, X Deep, which we ended up going with the X Deep because the Namotech just didn't work quite for me being paralysed. It was a fantastic bit of kit, just doesn't work for me. But the really funny thing was Sally Cartwright from the UK, very, very good diver, works at the dive chamber. She was my main contact that got all these people linked together. And she says, I'm going to bring you a surprise, bring you somebody that will help you, get this. And I say, oh, great, thank you. So she, in the morning, she turns up and she says, yeah, well, I brought him if he gets here on time. I was like, okay, yeah, who have you brought? She went, you'll see. And so sure enough, we're like messing about with, what it's like with side mount stuff. It's like you've got to make the harness fit first, then we can put the wing on, then we can start messing about. So we're doing all that lot, and then all I heard across the car park in Stony Cove, will you learn to adult? And he's like, oh well, whatever. And then he comes over, and I'm like, oh my god, that's Rick Stanton. I'm sat on the floor. And Rick Stanton is stood there. I've just not long watched the Thailand rescue with Rick in it, and I'm just like, hey, what? One of the heroes is like stood right in front of me, and Sally's having a go at him, telling him to learn to adult. He's hilarious, absolutely hilarious, and I just thought some people get that. Sort of like kiss his ass sort of thing all the time. I'm not that type of person. And I just said to her, I know what you're going to do today. He went, well, I'm going to help you learn how to side mount. That would be the first thing that we need to do. I said, well, yeah, as well as that, if I've got to learn to side mount, you've got to learn to dive without fins. So I gave him a set of webs and told him he's not allowed to use his fins, but he has to use the webs the entire day. That's what he did. He said, fair enough, I'll do it. I'm not taking my fins off in case there's a problem, but I will cross them and I won't use them. And he did. He didn't use those fins the entire day. So
wow.
Massive respect to him. But the world records we got fast, we were getting super quick and blowing buddies out of the water once I was in the side mount system because the drag just disappeared. And it was like, oh yeah, this is awesome. But then Guinness kind of stuffed me up again. They said one of the stipulations is you need to be mapped. So we need to have recorded data. Not only do you need to be filmed for this entire time, I'm like, you do realise it's going to take like 6.5 hours in the water to do. And they said, yeah, but it has to be recorded the entire time because there's no proof otherwise. Right, yeah. Hey, how the hell does that happen? And then they said, you've got to be tracked. We have to be able to track you. So not only did we have to get the whole entire cove GPS mapped so that they could actually work out the route all the way around it at 6 to 8 meters. So we had to do that. We had to get it all surveyed by a team. They came in and surveyed it. So as well as that, I had to tow an SMB behind me with a GPS tracker on the SMB, and it couldn't come off me at any point. So I'm like, wow, flying along like all this training and going, yep, this is going to be brilliant. And then all of a sudden you clip an SMB to my arse and I have to tow that round as well. And it was like, oh. I tell you, man, it nearly halved my speed. It proper
halved your speed just by towing the SMB.
Yeah. So we had to do some serious looking and working out how to fix that problem. And what we ended up doing was going with a high-vis fishing line with a little pip float behind me, so it kept the line out of the way of tangling on my legs or anything whilst we did the stops. And then it went to the surface on a triathlete float. So it's one of the floats that they use for training for triathlons. So not the standard SMB that most people know and see, but this little orange triangle that just buoyant enough to hold my GPS watch on top of it. And that was it. That's what I ended up towing. which worked. It worked. It was great. But yeah, did hammer my speed a little bit, just a little bit. So yeah, it was good. So we did the 1 mile in 1 hour 28. So that's the world record for the 1 mile scuba dive in fresh open water. And then we carried on and did 5.2 something kilometers, which added up to 5.5 hours worth of diving.
Wow.
So we thought it was going to be 6.5 hours. We was in the water for 6.5 hours after everything that happened, but 5.5 hours of. We actually came up, and on my computer I thought it was broken because I came up and it said 333 minutes, and that wasn't deliberate. It was. I thought, oh no, my shearwater's broke. That's not a good sign. But we actually, we did it in 333 minutes. So it was a fantastic dive. A lot of hard work, obviously. And after 3 hours, I was bored out my brain. But it was good. 22 cylinders
amazing.
we went through. Because
How many cylinders?
22. 7 liters.
22 cylinders.
Yeah.
So what? When you're down, they just come down and bring you another bottle, and you just unclip and clip.
Yeah, so we had two points in the cove. One where it's called a bus stop, where it's like a training platform. People jump off to go down to 6 meters. So we were changing cylinders there, like a pit stop. I had two safety divers come down because I had one safety diver with me the entire time, each half lap, because otherwise they were just getting knackered and blown out of the water. So we had a safety diver next to me. I had Rob, who was my camera crew, behind me as basically like Overwatch. So he had his Bonex scooter, and he's obviously he's fit anyway. So he had his Bonex scooter and he was finning behind me, and recorded the entire event, which also went rather wrong because the camera housing I built and tested at 10 meters for like 7 hours was absolutely fine. On the day, failed in less than half a meter of water. So it killed a GoPro camera and failed in half a meter of water. So it ended up being Rob had to do the entire event holding GoPro cameras to record me for 5.5 hours. And every time a GoPro camera started getting low on battery, so every half lap, he was handing the GoPro off to somebody else who was bringing another GoPro in.
Give me another GoPro.
Yeah. So it was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But he did a fantastic job. We only had one moment where the GoPro sort of glitched and skipped over stuff, but we managed to recover it from another GoPro that was recorded at the time. So yeah, we were quite lucky that we got through it, and managed to do everything. I was drinking underwater, obviously, SIS gels underwater, all that sort of stuff, and communications. So we used Ocean Reef Communications underwater, so they could, the last half a lap, everybody could shout down to me, you've got half a lap left, and I kind of got it, and I was like, yeah, okay, great. And I knew when I get round to the second half lap, which was an underwater platform based at 8 meters underwater, I knew if I had two white cylinders, I knew they were 50% O2 in those cylinders, and I knew that was my last half lap. So it was kind of like, I got to this point, I where you hit the wall, but I'd already done that at like 3.5 hours. But we got to like, I think it must have been 4 hours 40, something like that. And I did my second to last one. And I was thinking, they sent a slate down with 4 point something kilometers on there. And I was like, yeah, okay. So trying to work it out in my head, by the time I go round another 3/4 of a lap, will that be complete? Will I have done it? There better be two white cylinders by the time I get to this stop, because if not, I'm done. And I was like, the 5K can stuff it. Like, I can't do any more. I'm just done. And I was so tired. And I got around to the platform, and sure enough, there was one. My wife was there waiting, so I knew that's amazing. I've only got half a lap left. And secondly, there was two white cylinders sat there with 52 and 51% O2 in them. So they strapped them on. I had a team, QDs, clip, regs in, go, and they did that. And then it wasn't the wall that hit me. Cramp hit me, pain hit me everywhere, and I was like, "What the hell is going off?" And it was the O2. It was an O2 rush. So I got a shot of the 50% O2, and my arms, forearms, shoulders, chest, everything just cramped up. Just went to sheer cramp.
Really?
Yeah, and it was just like, well, what do I do here then? Because
Oh,
I can't thin to keep myself going. I've got to stretch my arms out, so I just stretch my arms out for a little bit, and they're like, "What is he doing? Is he all right?" And they did it when I'm out having a O2 hit, you know. Legs are spasming as well, so it doesn't look like I'm having a right fit underwater. Yeah, it was a good 3 minutes after we changed over to those cylinders, and it was just like, oh, this is horrible. And then all of a sudden, bang, it just disappeared, and I felt fresh. So I could
wow.
start speeding up, and I did. I sped up, shot off towards the end, and it was so good. They thought I was going to go round and do another lap because I went straight past the finish line. The underwater ROV that was supposed to be recording me do the finish line couldn't keep up with us. So that thing tried to keep up with us, and then it went past the finish line. I went past the finish line. Rob's going, "Where's he going?" You can hear him underwater going, "What is he doing?" And yeah, so it was good. He managed to swim after me, grab me, stop me. He's like, "Stop! We've gone past the finish line. We shouldn't be this far." And sure enough, we come up, we surfaced, and we'd just gone past. So yeah, we did it. 5.5 hours. It was fantastic. We did it all for charity, so that was the three charities we raised money for as well. So raised I think it was £7,000 for charity in total.
Wow.
That was kind of the goal as well.
That's amazing though that you did 3 records in one day, and the amount of preparation. Like, how many months did you prepare to do this?
An entire year.
An entire year.
Yeah. It took an entire year because so many things changed along the way. And obviously my fitness was changing, my the differences in water was changing. Every single week I was doing between 55 and 64 lengths in the pool every Tuesday night, and I was blasting that in 40 minutes. So just with a snorkel on, breaststroke, where's a hybrid breaststroke because I got no abs. I had some swimming coaches try and teach me how to do breaststroke properly. It doesn't work when you're paralyzed. So when you do the breaststroke, you come around and push. You're supposed to do that skull in action underneath. So you press down. Yeah. The thing is, when I press down, because I haven't got the abs to hold my body flat, I just breach. So it really, really doesn't work. But we learned that one the hard way with trying to snorkel and drowning myself with a snorkel flooding every time. So yeah, we just gave up with that, and I do this hybrid breaststroke, and I learned. It took quite a while to learn that the swim, most people seem to put a lot of force in from the center outwards. So they think you drive up with your fists closed, and then you open your webs out, and then you push down as hard as you can. But what they do is put all this effort in there, and there's from center to out, you're actually just pushing water away from yourself. You're not doing anything. All you're doing is either slowing yourself down in the water, or actually pushing yourself to the middle, away from the water, and it does nothing to propulsion. So actually, I stopped putting effort in there and kept my fists together at that point. Then fanned out really quick, and then almost like you're hooking the water and grab it and push it behind you. And then that started really working, and it became more efficient. But you do get cramp from closing your hands up, closing your fists, because you get the pump in the forearm, and then opening the hand and spreading down. So it took a long time to get used to that. That was significant.
Yeah,
but it was great.
Yeah.
It was a year of hard work, and logistics. Logistics was the biggest thing. That was the biggest problem, because no one I knew had done this sort of thing before I was paralyzed. So we was on nitrox the entire time. So I had some people come in, and, the chamber were involved. The chamber said, if we're going to do this, we're going to put you for a HSE medical, so that we make sure that you're okay. Then we started looking at the implications of CNS loading over 5.5 hours. So then we're like, actually, with you being paralyzed, we don't know if you're on 32, 34%, we don't know what that's gonna, what kind of, we know obviously what impact that's going to have for an able-bodied diver. Yeah, we can calculate, no problems, but we don't know what it's going to do to you because you're paralyzed. So your lower body, the blood is moving nowhere near as fast. I can have blood pooling. Does that mean that you'll get nitrogen loading in set areas and not others? Does it mean you'll get CNS hits that you don't know about because you're paralyzed? So yeah, what we did was we said, right, what we'll do is we'll put an air brake in. So halfway through, we put half a lap on 21%. Well, that gets rid of the CNS straight away. And then straight after that, the last half lap, 52% was the highest mix I took. 52% O2, and then that gives me cramps. So, it was the logistics behind it was really quite. And for somebody that was relatively, to be fair, I'm relatively new in diving. If you think about my dive life, the dive world, I'm I now 7 years into diving.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot. My training dives were 2.5, 3 hours training dives when I was training, and people are going, "How many years have you been diving?" I'm like, "Well, at that point, what, 4 years?" Yeah, like 4.5 years, I think it was, something like that. I'd been diving. They go, "What? You not got like 1,000 dives behind you?" I was like, "No, I've got maybe 200, if that." They're going, "You're doing 4-hour dives and you've got not even 200 dives behind you." I was like, "Yeah, it's fine. All them lot know what they're doing. They tell me how to do it. It's fine." It was good, but it does.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It does.
So you also,
what?
I actually, because you have so many of them, list off all your dive credentials that you have.
Oh my God!
Because it's pretty impressive.
All it is, the main thing is BZAC, British Subaqua Club. That's my main. That's the club that I dive with. That's my main body that I sit behind. That's where I want to go. I want to be an instructor trainer for BZAC on the DFA, so that's diving for all. Because I really want to give that a kick in the backside and sort it out. But obviously, I'm a multi-agency as well, because of things like side mount. BZAC don't do side mount yet. They will be. They're supposed to be bringing it, but they don't do side mount. So that was a TDI course with Michael and Robert. And then I also wanted to get involved in a big company called Dive Heart over in America. I wanted.
I've had Jim Elliott on here.
Yeah, I wanted to be the first ever paralyzed dive heart instructor, because I became an instructor in BZAC in the UK, which is a feat in itself. It's difficult to become an instructor. Yeah. You've got to be good. You've got to know what you're doing. And I take everything as it's a challenge. So it's like, well, if you've got to do an emergency lift on an unconscious casualty from 25 meters, can you do that as paralyzed? Well, yeah, of course you can. You just control the kit. It's not about, I need to be strong enough to pick them up and carry them on my back and all this rubbish. You use the kit, get to the surface, and then use the resources that's there. A boat, a safety crew, anybody on the side. You use those resources. Yes, towing Adrian Collier, he's a big unit. He's 6'4" and was probably then weighing around about 20 stone. And he was the lad I had to rescue. So I had to do rescue training with AD. And he was like, if you can rescue me, you can rescue anybody. And it was true, swimming with one arm on the surface, one arm towing on the surface to get him somewhere, then changing arms and one arm tow again, as well as doing in water rescue breaths. It's hard work. But if you can put yourself there and work out how to do it, that's brilliant. So I did the instructing with that, and I was like, right, I want to do with the disability stuff. I want to go to the best or the biggest disability company there is, which obviously is Dive Heart. Yeah. And I really wanted to get involved with with that side of stuff.
Yeah,
rebreather.
You don't want to do a rebreather.
I'm pretty nervous about it because I obviously I have enough disability issues to worry about. With my ADHD, it does worry me that I will mess up.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about doing it frankly after my little scare I had doing side mount, and which was the first day. And it was, it's actually the first time I can honestly say where I like had a bit of a panic. I didn't do a full blown like panic, but it scared me bad enough that I was like, holy smokes. And my wife goes, good. I'm glad you got a little bit of a scare in you.
That woke you up.
And then when I told her, I said, yeah, I said, I don't know. I said, I know I'm going to do decompression, the cave and the rebreather, though I'm not so sure on that. And the rebreather probably, I think I'm going to stay away from the rebreathers. And my wife's like, yes.
I mean, I would be on a rebreather tomorrow if I could one, afford it.
Yeah,
that would be the big one. And the other one is if I could get one, because for me, I'd go on a KISS Sidewinder. Sidewinders, 2 of them, yes, please. I would just sit on 2 KISS Sidewinders, so I've got a bailout rebreather instead of bailout in gas. I'd do that all day long. Chuck me in caves. I'm off. I'm gone, mate. I'll be down there for a day. I'm not bothered. But rebreathers are, they are a risk if they're not done correctly, definitely. And
yep.
We had a relatively serious incident last year. So, but Adrian Collier, one of my really good mates, one of my best mates in diving, he had an IPO on his rebreather. So,
whoa,
yeah, and we weren't even doing, it wasn't crazy depths. It wasn't a short dive, but it was hour and 17 minutes dive around Stony Cove. So we went down to the 20-meter drop. I've got 7, and then ADP 7, so 50% mix on a 7 litre. So 21 litres of gas on me. He's got his rebreather, and we had another lad with us with exactly the same setup as me as well. And we've gone around the basin. We've done a deep, it's 20 meter, 21, 22 depth, maximum depth, dive. Average depth was something like 17 meters for the entire dive. And we came up 15-minute deco. So it's not a bad dive. That's not, that's not a lot of deco at all.
No.
And he was coughing for half the dive, coughing on his rebreather. And then we come up, and I'm like, I okayed him a few because I was leading, so I was leading the dive. I okayed him a couple of times. He got a new GoPro camera, so he was a bit slower than us, and I thought he was slower than us because he was messing about with his camera. I swim fast, which is what I always get told off for. So now I do like 2 strokes and then I pause, and then I do 2 or 3 strokes, then I pause, and then I look around and go, okay, but wait for him to catch up, and then I'm off again. But he was, lagging a little bit. And I looked at the time and I thought, actually, do you know what? We're only 3 minutes longer than we did it before. So it's not too much of a problem. But then we came up to the 6-meter shelf. We did our deco stops, did our deco time. We're coming up towards the steps to get out, or the well to get out. And I said to Bob, yeah, you go out first, mate. You go up, I'll stay back. Because obviously, last one in the water. And I looked at AD. I'm like, you don't look great. And I went, are you okay? And it took me 3 goes of, are you okay? To get a response of, yeah, I'm all right. And I was like, okay, right. So we came up to the surface, and I said, Bob, steps. And then I looked at AD, and he just didn't look. It's difficult to see whether a rebreather's overly happy because they've got a bloody loop in front of their face. But he just didn't. He looked really flush in his face. He didn't look great, and I could hear him as soon as he came to the surface. I could hear him coughing, and he was just like, sort of thing. And then he was a bit more coughing. I was like, "Ady, get out!" And because he's a big lad, and I don't want to be pulling him out the steps. It's hard work.
Yeah.
So we got him out, and he literally climbed out. I was de-rigging, taking everything off in the step well, taking everything off. I bum shuffling up the steps, and then everybody starts running, and he's gone down like a sacker. He's gone over. He's still got his breather on his back. And he's like bent over. Two of them are holding the breather off of him because he's got an AP breather and he's a big lad. He's a flipping lot of unit. It was bad. It was a scary moment. And I just got my wife come over and said, "Ady's down." I was like, right. So she legged it up to the shop to go and get O2 and go get an AED. And to let them know that there's a shout on, get the ambulance sort of thing. And I bum shuffled up, grabbed my 50%, dragged it over to him, threw him on that. He's got his rebreather, but the rebreather wasn't putting the gas in. Because he had an IPO, he couldn't breathe in enough to get gas in. What he needed was positive pressure. So the rebreather was no good. So because you've got to breathe in to be able to get it to circulate. So we just purged the regulator and he could actually breathe it in. So he was on the 50% mix for only 3-4 minutes whilst they legged it down with 100% O2 on a Marinox kit. But even the Marinox kit he was struggling with because it wasn't pushing the gas into his lungs. He had to breathe it in and he couldn't breathe it in because he wanted to cough it out, and he was coughing out red phlegm, or pink phlegm and all that sort of stuff. So it was a nasty situation. But later on found high blood pressure, all this sort of stuff, not fitness. He'd lost a bit of fitness over the years. So he's now battling to get back, and he's going to be back diving. He's going to get back doing it. But he's questioning whether to be on the breather or not because of the issues. But people will hear this and loads of people will listen to it or whatever, and they'll be going, no, the rebreather's absolutely fine. Loads of people will go, no, it's not fine. It's always a split. It's always a split about stuff like this, and it'd be the same if it happened on open circuit. It'd be 100 people saying if it was on a rebreather that'd never happen, but then there'd be 100 people going, well, it shouldn't have happened on open circuit. But it's just maybe the work rate of breathing. Maybe he overbreathed. Maybe it was just the fact he had a bloody cold, or the fact that his blood pressure's too high, or the fact that he's 60 years old. It could be all sorts of things linked together.
It could be a lot of stuff that set it off.
Yeah.
Anything.
End of the day, an incident happened. The good thing is we're all trained to deal with that incident. One thing I do love about BZAC is ocean divers, the very, very first qualification you get in BZAC, you're taught to rescue. That is the first thing.
Oh, wow.
So we do full AS, which is, out of gas rescue. So if you're out of gas situation, we teach the youngest students to rescue and lift to the surface. If then they come up against their incapacitated diver, so we do what's called a CBL, controlled buoyant lift. So they're taught to lift from ocean diver. This is a 12-year-old kid is taught to lift an unconscious diver to the surface and rescue them. Not taught to give rescue breaths, that's in sports diver, but they're taught to rescue them, bring them to the surface and tow them in. So they can tow them to a boat or they can tow them to the shore. And for me, that fundamentally is just, I know it's different in America and it's different across the world because of legislation and risk and all this sort of stuff. In the UK, you can't be prosecuted for trying to save someone's life.
Yeah, you can here.
Yeah, you can in America. It's and other places around the world. There's a very much a well, you should have let them die sort of thing. I don't agree with that. I would always try and save someone's life if I could. And that's why I really, really love the way that BZAC teach from the get go. Is those parts of it are really good. I also really love SSI's lift. SSI's rescue lift, I think, is fantastic because it comes from the freediving world of lifting. Lifting, keeping the chin mouth closed with a regulator in, and you've got it. We don't lift like that. We lift from the front. We don't lift from the back. And there's so many different things that that's why I love being multi-agency, because you can take this little bit from that one, take this little bit from this one. The problem is when you become an instructor in it, you can't teach the little bit from that one.
A little bit from that one.
Yeah, it's got to be no. You've got to teach our syllabus, and it's like, so on a BZAC day, I'm a BZAC diver. On an SSI day or a dive art, I'm a dive art or an SSI diver. It is difficult, but I do love that fact that we can take. I think a lot of people go, all the different organisations knock each other, and they all have a go at each other, and they all go, well, we're better at this and we're better at that.
Oh yeah.
At the end of the day, we're all bloody divers. We all go underwater, we all dive, and we all, if any of us had an issue, it doesn't matter how you get them to safety or how you actually save them, as long as you do.
Just as long as you get them there.
Yeah, as long as they ain't dead when you leave them, they're all right.
So do any of your kids and your wife dive?
Yeah, all of us. So
all of them.
Yeah. So I've got a daughter, Sky. She's 14. She's an ocean diver. She's going to go forward to do a sports diver next, which is full rescue breaths. And sports diver for BZAC is 40 meters. So it's a deep qualification. You have to do your depth regression and stuff. So for ocean diver, it's 20 meters. And then for sports diver is 40 meters. For dive leader, which my wife is doing. She's doing dive leader now. That's 50 meters. And we still do granddad rights. So in BZAC, we still can do 50 meters on air.
Oh, really?
Because it's still taught the 50 meter rule on air. We can still do it. We don't do it. I wouldn't do it. I've done 50 meters actually on a nitrox mix. I could do 50 meters on a trimix, obviously, but yeah, if I had the options, I'd sit on a trimix at 50. I've done it on nitrox because I wanted the extra option in there. I didn't want the narcosis side of it, but equally so, I would be happy at 50 meters on air. I would be quite happy with that. Depending on what set of regs I've got, but I would be happy at that. And obviously, I'm going to be doing that with the training, so it's going to be trimix, only weak mixers, but it's going to be trimix gases. And then just increasing those depths. But so Sky's brilliant. She comes down every week to the dive club. She's there whilst we're training. She's in the water as a buddy to help the other instructors. So she's learning that side of it as well. Eve is she's doing a dive leader now, so she's qualified sports diver. She's also a dive heart buddy, so she did the dive heart training whilst I was there as well. She actually did the advanced buddy training, but she only got the buddy qualification. And then she's also an assistant instructor, so she's done the assistant instructor side of stuff. All we've got to do is get her through a dive leader, and then she can go full instructor qualification, which would be cool. And hopefully Sky takes it forward as well. She's doing photography at school, so she wants to do photography in the water. Maybe that cost me a fortune. But
well, I mean, realistically, the camera equipment to all the stuff that you're already into, is minor.
yeah, you're right. It is. Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff is crazy. You've just been and done your side mount course. What you want, an X Deep?
I'm wearing an X Deep.
Yeah,
Stealth Tech.
Yeah. You'll know the costs are.
Well, not only that, I had bought, my wife got me a brand new X Deep. I also have actually Lamar Hires from Dive Right. I interviewed him.
Yep.
He actually sent me one of his personal test Nomad Ray units.
Oh,
so I
lucky you
too.
Right.
So, and it's his unit.
It's his actual one.
It's one of his actual test units. Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm pretty pumped about that. So once I get certified in my stealth tech, after I get a few dives in,
Yep.
I have another buddy of mine who's an instructor who's a side mount instructor, and he's going to go through the setup with me on that one to get it rigged up just so I can dive with it too.
Yep.
And then I have the other thing was I had lucked out because a friend of mine, he's a senior guy, and he's been getting out of technical diving, and I hooked up with him first when I started buying used gear, and he's been selling me off all his gear really cheap. I've almost cleaned him out of everything actually pretty well.
I said the same thing to AD about his rebreather, his inspiration. I said, well, look, mate, if you can't dive anymore, I can have a cheap inspiration rebreather, can't I? And I was thinking, no, it's bloody huge. It's not going to work. It's like towing a double-decker bus underwater for me. For him, it fits him, but for me, it's huge. No.
So I've been lucky. I've been lucky that way. But then when we went to do the training on the weekend, because he sold me his side mount regs.
Yeah.
Because he already had a side mount reg set up, and so I took his regs, and then I got them all serviced and stuff. And then when I got down there and we got doing this stuff, then I realized I needed bigger pressure gauges because of my vision. I needed to change the hoses because he had corrugated hoses on it. And it was, and plus I had to buy valves for my 2 side mount tanks, right? So, I mean, left, right valve, there's another $350. Yeah, it's almost as bad as racing motocross, or can be, right? As far as cost goes. It's any of that stuff.
It's the same no matter what you do. If you want to be the best of it, or you want the best quality of what you can have, it's going to cost a lot of money. It's the same. Yeah. It's just you got to limit that cost, because otherwise you get shot by the wife.
Well, since you're also a motorcycle racer, you'll be interested in this. I actually went to Jamaica in November.
Nice.
And I was diving with this guy. I was diving with him for like a couple of days, hanging around with him. And then we got talking about motorcycles and stuff like that. Turns out he's Barry Middleton, the British motorcycle champion.
How did you manage that?
I don't know. I just lucked out. I literally dove with him for like 5 or 6 days. We still can't stay in contact all the time.
Nice.
So yeah, it was really cool. But I had no idea that's who he was until later, right? And then we were sitting having a beer the one day, a couple of beers after. There was like 4 or 5 of us. This other couple too that was sitting there with us, and we were sitting there talking about motorcycles or something like that. And then he like briefly mentioned that he raced motorcycles, right?
Yeah.
And then so I get back to the hotel room because I didn't want to Google him on the spot. Right?
Yeah, it's a bit fanboy, isn't it? It's a bit.
I'm like, wait a sec, I got a feeling about this. So I go and I Google him. I get back and I Google him, and I'm like, holy crap! Do you know who we were just hanging around with and who I've been diving with all week? And of course, all of my motorcycle racing buddies were all like, holy shit! Like, how the hell did you luck out at that? Right? And I'm like, just fluke. I didn't even know till I was hanging around with them for 2 or 3 days.
No, that's special. That is special, man.
So, yeah. So, anyhow, I want to thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you.
It's been awesome to have you on the podcast. I'm going to have all your links below to your stuff down here for everybody to check out. And remember, guys, grab an adventure and live, and I will see you next time.